So another thing I would not do before a training session or a sparring session, and I have done this hundreds of times, I would not, before a training session or before any sort of sparring session, especially if you know I'm sparring, I would not spar my opponent knowing that he's wearing 12-ounce gloves or even 14-ounce gloves with cushioning missing or shit old gloves. Make sure your opponent has the same gloves as you, what should be 16 to 18 ounce. You don't want to be knocking hell out of each other or trying to damage each other. You want to be learning. You don't want to be injuring the other opponent. Make sure you've got the same gloves on. Forget about your ego. Forget about going over to him and asking him to look at your gloves. I've done it 100 times and I've been hurt a couple of times sparring with lads with smaller gloves on. There's a reason why you have sparring gloves. It's a big disadvantage if you spar with someone. You've got 16s and they've got 12s or even 14s. It's a big disadvantage. So forget about your ego. Go and tell them, or a good trainer or a good coach should pick up on this before you even enter the ring and make sure that the gloves are the same. And obviously make sure you've got a good head guard on and a good gum shield for both parties. So another thing I would not do if I was training, or shall I say what I wouldn't do before a training session, would be I wouldn't train if I've got a cold or if I've got some sort of cold or bug or flu coming on. Many times I thought, and all I've done is put my body under more stress, and I've ended up becoming a lot worse and having more days off in the long run. What I would potentially advise to do would be, if you do feel under the weather, just take that extra day off, stock yourself up on plenty of multivitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, rest, sleep, recovery, to do the job until you start feeling at least 80-90%, and then maybe you can break into a light training session and then eventually go back up to 100%. This is probably a very obvious one. One thing I would not do before a workout would be to go out on the piss the day before or a couple of days before. By dehydrating your body with alcohol and poisoning your body, all you're doing is putting your body under a lot of stress to try and repair and recover. This can take days, even sometimes a week. So if one thing I would definitely not do would be contaminate any sort of alcohol or any sort of substances that are going to damage my body. The alternative to this would be, or shall I say the tip to this, would be go out. If you want to go out with your friends, socialise, try and get used to drinking soft drinks or maybe have some non-alcoholic beer. Get yourself home at a reasonable time, have a good few hours out with your friends, enjoy yourself, and then get your sleep and wake up in the morning and you'll be brand new for your next training session. And ideally that would be, don't give more than 10 pounds in weight when you're sparring. You don't want to be sparring against the heavier man unless you're far, far more advanced than him. Too many dangers, too many risks to be involved when you're sparring 3 or 4 weight divisions above yourself. Keep at your same weight, play the game safe. It's all about learning and educating yourself. So definitely another thing what some people might take for granted or not even realise, if you eat junk food the day before, you're going to have a hard training session. Chances are, if you're eating junk food, you're going to wake up with lower energy. You're going to wake up not feeling 100% sharp. You're going to wake up feeling tired. Your brain is not going to be functioning as good. And this is all down to the foods that you're eating the day before. So keep away from processed foods. Anything what's in a tin, a can, try and avoid. Eat your foods as natural as you can, coming from the ground. I always like to do, if I know I've got a hard training session the day after, I will purposely load up a little bit the night before on some good carbohydrates, but I know I'm going to fill up my body full of that glycogen, what's going to store energy in my body and in my muscles for the day after. So when I know I've got a hard workout, I know that the day before I've taken care of most of that problem. And then obviously before my workout, I will wake up, I'll do all my routine, and then I'll make sure I've got some other fast-acting carbs just an hour before my workout, and they'll normally be blueberries, raspberries, jasmine rice, and normally have a spoonful of honey as well right before I train. These things will also improve your brain function, your training capacity, and will make you generally feel good mentally and physically. The thing I would do, or wouldn't do before a workout, would be to eat a load of food. You don't want to have a big meal before a workout. So another thing I would not want to do before a workout, a boxing workout, would be to train prior to my workout. Try and have a gap between your training sessions. Normally 3 to 4 hours is a good gap. So for example, if you're training in the morning, don't just do a load of weight training and then go boxing. If you're training boxing in the morning, don't go for a 3-4 mile run and then boxing training. This is going to just fatigue your muscles. It's going to slow down your training. It's going to not sharpen. You're not going to be as sharp as you normally would be, and then also your brain's not going to be sharp, so you're not going to be learning as good as you normally would do. So what I would do, instead of looking at trying to do 2 sessions at once, I would look at doing some a good warm up, 5 to 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, slow jogging, moving left and right, moving your arms up and down. Try and break your way into a slow warm up or slow sweat. I would then go into maybe using some dynamic stretching, moving the leg left and right, the arms up and down. Obviously there'll be lots of YouTube videos talking about dynamic stretching. One thing I wouldn't do would be just go straight to the gym, start stretching straight away, stretching a cold muscle that's going to potentially lead to injury, and then jump straight into my skipping or my shadow boxing, what then could also lead to injuries. So a good warm up with some dynamic stretching is definitely a plus. Another thing I would not do if I'm training, especially doing training boxing, if I feel slightly injured or I've got a slight little tear or a slight bit of back pain, I would not try and train through it. I would not go to the gym and try and ignore my body telling me the signs to rest. I've done this many a times and ended up being worse off and having more time off due to injury. The alternative would be obviously to rest, physio, stretch. So another thing I would not do going into a boxing session or training session, and that would be to have no goals, have no structure, have no plan. Don't want to be going to a boxing class or on your own training while you're just not really knowing what to do. You're just punching the punch bag, you may be trying to skip, but you're not really knowing how to do the skipping or how to put combinations together on the punch bag. So I would always say try and get a little bit of knowledge. If you can't get it off someone who's going to train you, get on YouTube, learn things. Try and set yourself, I'm going to do 5 2-minute rounds. I'm going to do 2 2-minute rounds of skipping, 2 2-minute rounds of shadow boxing, maybe 5 2-minute rounds on the bag. You know, set yourself a goal. Maybe just use your left hand for 2 rounds, and then, you know, 1 round just doing your hooks. So try and go in with a plan of action to your training session. If you're training on your own, or if you're training in your bedroom, or whatever you're doing, make sure you've got some sort of structure, some sort of goals. And not to go in there just thinking I'm just going to hit the bag or try and do whatever I can do. You know, have a plan, have some goals, have some structure. Another thing I would try and do before a training session, or shall I say what I would not do, I would not go into a training session feeling exhausted due to not having the proper sleep the night before. So what I always try and do if I know I've got a hard training session, always make sure I try and get me 8 to 9 hours sleep, and where I tend to wake up. So go to bed on time, wake up on time. Try and get into a routine of doing these things daily. Sleep is so important. If you've not got the sleep and the rest, your brain's not going to function right. When your brain's not functioning right, you're not going to feel like training. You're not going to have the energy, the motivation. If you can do anything, try and make sure you get a good sleep. There'll be some tips to try and make sure that your body can get to sleep at the right time. Would be obviously go to bed half an hour before you want to go to sleep. Turn the lights off, turn your telephones off, no bright screens, no blue screens. Put an audio book on about boxing or coaching, and then you'll find that you're not thinking about anything else apart from that book. And then before you know it, your brain drifts off and you fall to sleep. Try not to take any cannabis, alcohol, drugs. Keep away from any substances that are going to damage your sleep or your body. Try and reduce your stress. Try and be in a nice environment. You know, try and have a happy